Thank you to everybody who's attending today. We really appreciate you attending these events, and we're pleased to announce again and just keep reminding you that this is our 25th year celebration this year. So we'll be doing a lot of different events and things over the next few months, and working through. We laugh that we're going to declare victory all year long here, and make it a full year-long celebration and stuff. This is going to be our last Aspire event that we have this spring, but we'll step back in the fall and do 2 or 3 more. We're actually talking to some different groups here in Dallas about bringing other topics. As those of you who've been around us a little bit know that we try and bring you things that are different, that they're things that we think you'd like to be exposed to. Today's topic is particularly relevant to that, and I'll get into that in just a minute. Couple things that are in front of you. We have a CP evaluation form, so if you'd like to have continuing professional ed credit and stuff, we're more than glad to try and sign off and get you the form and stuff for the time. We also have speaker evaluation forms and stuff there for you if you'll fill those out. We're also looking for suggestions on topics. People continue to feed those to us so that we can look and see what we can do. And then Paul, our speaker today, has provided you with a brochure, and then we'll get you a copy of the halftime book and stuff today as you're departing out the door and stuff. It's my pleasure to introduce Paul McGinnis to you today. He spent his 20-year career in the nonprofit world, running his own business, and then most recently as Vice President of Marketing for the fastest growing division at Ecolab, which was a Fortune 250 company based in St. Paul, Minnesota. His background also includes marketing, sales, operations, and HR. He's fixed struggling departments as well as starting new divisions. He has a knack for creative leadership, focused on bringing out the best in people. He has a love for work, humor, honesty, life, and charisma, and inspiring people to move. He's from Durango, Colorado. He grew up hating the Dallas Cowboys since they beat his Denver Broncos in the first Super Bowl appearance in '78. And since then he moved to Arlington. He got right up next to the stadium so he could get close. And he's been helping Jerry, fund the new Dallas Cowboy Stadium with all of his tax dollars from Arlington. He and his wife Marilyn, have celebrated 24 years of marriage in 5 days recently, and they are now truly empty nesters. His son Drew's getting a PhD at the University of California, and Jenica has finished her freshman year at UT Arlington. He enjoys teaching, speaking, tennis, volleyball, and photography. He now serves as an executive coach and lead facilitator for the Halftime Institute, an organization started by Bob Buford in 1998, and he leads their marketing efforts. The reason we asked them to come today was because we have noticed some of us are getting a little gray-headed, and that it's a point in time, especially as you become empty nesters and as you get to some point in your life, you go, what do I want to do? And you suddenly wake up and realize you've got less years left on this world than you have behind you, which is kind of a unique moment when that hits you. And we think that we see a lot of baby boomers that are walking into our offices that own companies, that are at a point in their career that they're trying to figure out, what do I do next and how do I spend my time? And that's part of what he's going to talk about today, is a biblical thought process as to how you approach this and how you think through some of these things and what some of those options are. We were discussing before he started this morning that with technology and all the things going on, you truly can run your career for probably a longer period of time if you're healthy and be able to travel, do things, work on projects, do mission trips, all these kinds of things, and make it work on parallel tracks. And he's going to expose you to some of those thoughts this morning and other things to think about. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. Good morning. So think for a minute, what one word comes to your mind if you were to describe American culture today? Would it be apathy? Would it be perseverance, opportunistic? Would it be too many regulations? Not enough regulations? I mean, there's a lot of words that could describe our American culture, but I want to propose one word that I think describes our culture perfectly. And it's a word that you've heard, you've used, you could correctly spell in elementary school. As a marketer, which is my background, I try to use it in such a way that I can creatively and persuasively use it in such a way to persuade people like you to buy something you don't have. I believe it drives most of our crime, suicides, unhappiness. However, and I think the biggest allies to this are Hollywood, money, the news media. However, this word also can drive incredible achievement. It can create monumental change. It can actually make somebody perform at their best. In fact, I've seen it consume somebody where they were doing things that they had no idea they were capable of, good and bad. Webster defines it as a restless desire or craving for something one does not have. This 10-letter word that I'm talking about is discontent. So think about it for a minute. Your microwave's not fast enough. You never look good enough. Our TVs aren't big enough. We're never revered enough. We're not smart enough. We're never comfortable enough. We're never rich enough. And we very rarely say enough is enough. Discontent is all around us. And so I want to ask you, even though it's early, why do you think, if you believe that discontent is an adjective that you could describe our American culture, not you, of course, it doesn't describe you, it describes your hypothetical friends, why do you think we have this problem with discontent? What do you think drives that? There's a lot of things, but what are some things that come to your mind?
Measuring our outsides and comparing to our insides to everybody else's outside.
Yeah, absolutely. Comparing ourselves to others. What else? Yeah.
You marketing guys create a lot of it.
Us marketing guys, absolutely. I knew that was coming. What else? What else drives discontent?
Urge of leadership.
I'm sorry?
Urge of leadership.
The urge of leadership, and what did you say?
Lack of self-worth.
Lack of self-worth, absolutely.
Lack of purpose in our life.
Lack of purpose. You guys are pretty good for not being discontent, but you have close friends that are, so that's really good. Those are great examples. So discontent is this huge issue, and there's a lot of things that create discontent, all the things you said. Some of the ones I want to key in on are talk shows. Do you think they create discontent? Their topics, their guests, maybe their lack of information or the statistics they find to make their point or whatever. Talk shows is one. I know magazines don't create any discontent whatsoever when you're going through the checkout line. I mean, 100 perfect outfits, like perfect. I mean, I have good outfits, but perfect? I mean, I got to figure out what this is. Or, over here, look cute every day. I mean, I might look cute 3 of the 7 days a week, but every day I got to read this, Or look, the number one thing that makes sex very, very good, 2 varies. I may be only at 1 vary. I got to figure out what this number one thing. I mean, there is discontent everywhere. And not only that, TV and commercials really do a good job, to your point, of marketers creating discontent. So I actually want to show these commercials. This first one is the PC versus Mac. You might have remembered these series of commercials. They actually did about 60 of them. Not all of them went to the air. You can go to YouTube and see the rest. This is one that obviously creates discontent to those of us that use Windows. And then after that, we'll show you a Kia one. But Ryan, if we can do the PC versus Mac, that would be great.
Hello, I'm a Mac. I'm a PC. Hey, Mac, did you go to good news? Windows 7 is out, and it's not going to have any of the problems my last operating system had. Trust me. I feel like I've heard of this before, PC. What? Windows Vista's here, and it's not going to have any of the problems that Windows XP had. It's not going to have any of the problems that Windows ME had. It's not going to have any of the problems that Windows 98 had. It's not going to have any of the problems Windows 95 had. It's not going to have any of the problems Windows 2 had. Trust me. This time it's going to be different. Trust me.
I am now a Mac believer, so I've been converted, and I know Ryan's laughing, right? IT humor. The next one is a Kia commercial, and this will really get you going in the morning. This actually won several awards, and this was when Kia came out with their Soul, the Kia Soul, and they called it This or That. Are you going to have this, or are you going to have that? So let's show that as well. Okay, there we go. I had to get the end part there. So our world is soaked with messages creating discontent. If discontent creeps in by just giving you a slight pause, and it can be 2 seconds long, it can be a long period of time, it can be very subtle, it can be very blatant, but either way, it's incredibly forceful. And it causes you to ask questions you've never asked before and consider answers that you've never, ever thought possible, good or bad. It creates insecurity and pride, which leads to all kinds of things. It can lead to complaining and gossip, and then move to materialism, to move to unethical practices, depression, alcoholism, crime. It's the whole gamut that discontent can create. And so it's just an idea of, if I can just get you to pause for a second. I know for me in 8th grade, I wasn't very self-aware at that point in my life. And I remember somebody came up and told me I was skinny. And I'd never even looked at myself in that way. And I went home and I basically got undressed and looked in my mirror and I go, oh my gosh, I am skinny. That created discontent. And then all of a sudden I start comparing myself, and it just toppled over itself for many years. You know, I was 5 foot and 79 pounds. I was skinny in 8th grade. And so it's just this pause that creates this discontent, and it happens all the time.